Hello, aspirants. Now, in this journey of prehistoric India, we have reached a very crucial stage. Okay, so can you just imagine from being a hunter gatherer, from being a food gatherer, man became a food producer. And he began to settle down in his own permanent shelters. Yet, this was a great transformation in the history forever because this marks the beginning of a settled human communities. And the beginning of the earliest villages of the mankind. And this is termed as a Neolithic revolution. And in today's session, we are going to study about this interesting topic referred to as Neolithic revolution. So let's begin with the topic that is the Neolithic revolution. I hope the screen is visible. Now, who coined this word Neolithic revolution? So there was a great historian and an archaeologist, Gordon Childe. Okay, so Gordon Childe was the one who, for the very first time, referred to the Neolithic age as the age of revolution. Now, why did he refer to this age as the age of a revolution? Now, by the way, what do you mean by a revolution? Revolution means a drastic change, okay? So something drastic happened in this age, and hence this age is referred to as the age of revolution. So, what is that drastic thing that happened in this period that we are going to understand in today's session, okay? By the way, you can expect a mains question in GS paper 1 on this topic. They can give you a statement. Neolithic age is referred to as the age of revolution. Elaborate, discuss. This can be a 10 marker question, okay, in the mains examination. Already, this question came in the history optional in the year 2023. Okay, the question was the Neolithic age is referred to as the age of revolution. Elaborate or discuss. Okay, so similar question you can expect in the general studies as well because there is a pattern of UPSC asking optional questions in the general studies papers as well. Fine. Now, when I talk about the timeline of the Neolithic age, now first of all, neo means what? New. Lithic means stone. So we are referring to new stone age. Okay. If you look at the timeline in the Indian subcontinent, it began from around 6000 BCE and it continued up to 4000 BCE. Okay. However, in the Indian subcontinent, the timelines varies as per the regions. Like for example, in the northwest India, it continued up to 4000 BCE. However, in the eastern India, it continued up to 1000 BC. Also, in the central India and the south India, it continued up to 1000 BC. Okay, so this timeline of the Neolithic age across Indian subcontinent varies. Fine. Now let us try to understand what are the key characteristic features of this age and why it is referred to as an age of a revolution. Okay, so the very first significant change was the change in the subsistence pattern. Now, what do you mean by subsistence? Subsistence means that whatever you do for your livelihood, for your survival. Now, if you know in the Paleolithic age and in the Mesolithic age, what did man do for his basic survival? That is, he did hunting, gathering of food from the forest, fishing, right? Honey collection. All these were the subsistence activities of man in the Paleolithic and the Mesolithic age. So basically, we can say that man was a food gatherer, right? But now that underwent a biggest change. From a food gatherer, man actually became a food producer. He learned the technique of growing crops, okay? And that is known as the beginning of agriculture. So, beginning of agriculture was one of the most significant changes in the history of a mankind. Now, why it is considered to be a significant change in the history of mankind? Because, see, if you are a hunter gatherer, today you are here. Okay, for example, the resources of this place exhausted. You will go somewhere else and you will settle over there and you will use the resources in that area. If the resources in that area also ended, you will go somewhere else in the search of the resources. However, when you are practicing agriculture, you cannot wander from one place to another place, right? Why? Because crops have a particular cycle, right? You sow the seeds, then they grow, they mature, then there is a harvesting. So, this entire thing requires at least 4 to 5 months of a duration. And in that 4 to 5 months, you cannot just keep changing your place from here to there. You have to take care of your crops. You have to protect them from the attack of the wild animals. Correct. So man began to slowly and gradually settle down near his farms. Earlier, he used to stay in the rock shelters. Getting it? But now he had to create his own shelter, which is very near to his farm, from where he could take care of his farm, right? So this agriculture led to a very important change, and that was the beginning of a settled life of a man. This is also referred to as beginning of a sedentary life, settled life of a man. All right, so sedentary lifestyle of a man began. Now, when I talk about agriculture, which crops were grown by man, okay, in this Neolithic period? So, for the very first time, the crops that were grown, and we even have the evidences of those crops, they were wheat and barley, and even cotton was grown, okay. So, wheat and barley are considered to be the earliest crops which were grown by man in the Neolithic age, okay. And we have evidences of wheat and barley being grown from a very important site, that is Meherghar. Okay, we'll talk about this sites in the upcoming slide. So Meherghar, it is in present day Pakistan. This is a very important site. Here we find the earliest evidences of wheat and barley being grown, and even cotton was grown over here in the Meherghar site. Okay, so that is the first important change. Okay, so please remember, from a food gatherer now man became a food producer. Okay, now the next important thing was that now, in order to practice agriculture, man was dependent on cattle, correct? He required cattle for plowing of the land. Fine. So now he began to do cattle rearing, domestication of animals on a large scale. See, domestication of animals began in the Mesolithic period, but that was the earliest phase of domestication of animals. In this phase, domestication of animals expanded. Man required now animals for his agricultural use. Okay, so now he began to domesticate animals like cattle. Not only this, he domesticated animals like sheep, goat. Okay, dogs were there to protect his field. Okay, because dogs used to give a sign by barking that yes, some element, someone is coming and attacking, some wild animal is coming and attacking, so man would be prepared to protect his field. Fine. Now, from the sheep and goat, man got milk. Okay, from cattle's man got milk. Okay, and apart from that, he got fur, he got wool. Not only this, he got meat. From the sheep he got meat. Okay, so all these were the uses of domestication of animals. Okay, so pastoralism was a very important occupation during this period that indeed supported agriculture. Primary base was agriculture. Agriculture was supported by pastoralism. Okay, now, in order to cook food, in order to store the food grains, man would require utensils, right? And that led to the beginning of ceramics and the related technology. That is pottery making tradition. Okay, so the earliest pottery making tradition began in the Neolithic age. So initially, the pots that were made were not that fine or not that polished ones. They were made by hand. Okay, but slowly and gradually, in this period only, man began to make pots by wheel. All right. So initially the pots were handmade, and slowly and gradually he shifted towards the wheel made pot. And that was indeed a technological advancement. Okay. Now, what was the use of the pottery? Pottery was used for storage of the food grains. It was used for cooking, for the cooking purpose. And archaeologists have discovered the pottery of different shapes and sizes. Okay, so there are plates, there are bowls, there are perforated vessels. Okay, strainers are there. So all this ceramic tradition have been discovered, and slowly and gradually we see even advancement in this ceramic tradition. Okay, we see that the pots slowly and gradually became very beautiful. They were even painted. Okay, with the geometric designs, with the floral designs. All right, so this hints towards the progress and the innovation. And the next important feature is settled pattern of man and beginning of the earliest villages of mankind. Okay, so now man began to settle down near the farms. Okay, and he constructed his own houses. So earlier, if you guys remember, where did he live? He lived in the rock shelters. The famous ones are the Bhimbetka rock shelters, full of paintings, right? But now he constructed his own houses, and these houses were made from wattle. Okay, from mud, and small rectangular circular houses were constructed during this period. Slowly and gradually they settled down, communities were built, and that resulted in the beginning of the the earliest villages of the mankind. Okay, so Neolithic age is indeed very important because it lays the foundation of a settled life of a mankind. Let us proceed ahead and understand yet another characteristic feature of the Neolithic age, and they are the Neolithic tools. Okay, so Neolithic tools are indeed symbol or epitome of technological advancement. Fine. Now, when we talk about these tools were the finest ones, polished ones, very superior in their usage, and most importantly, they were smaller in their sizes. Okay, so we have understood that from Paleolithic age to Mesolithic age to Neolithic age, slowly and gradually, stone tools underwent transformation. They became more and more robust, more and more advanced, more and more polished, all right, and useful. Now, when I talk about the stone tools, they were made from materials like quartz were used, chalcedony was used, chert was used, jasper, and even basalt was used. Okay, and the tools of Neolithic period are called as the grounded tools. Why they are called as the grounded tools? Because they were grinded, crushed against each other. Now, can you imagine if you are just crushing against each other? What will happen? The external layers will move away and you will get a smooth surface. So hence, because of that grounding technique, the tools were quite smooth. Okay, the edges, can you see over here? The edges over here, they are very smooth. Okay, rounded over here. So that is the technique which was used in the Neolithic era. Fine. Now, the tools were very much polished and they were finished. Tools were grounded and polished to give them a sharp cutting edges and very smooth surfaces. Okay, that shows advanced craftsmanship. Tools were used for diverse functions, like they were used for agriculture, cutting, digging, grinding, boring, hunting, scrapping, and even in the regular domestic activities. They helped in clearing the forest, cultivation of land, food processing. So tools had a diverse functionality. Okay, they were of a very well shape. Okay, like for example, we had axes for the cutting purpose, sickles were there for harvesting, cones were there for grinding. Okay, so all these had very, very well designed shapes and very well designed functionality. Okay. Not only this, we find even regional variations across the stone tools. Okay. Now we are going to understand the examples of the stone tools of this period. Okay. So what are the examples? So axes, can you see over here? These are the different types of axes. These were also called as celt. Okay. CELTS. So they were used for cutting the trees, clearing the forest, for wood work. Okay. Aids. These are the aids. Okay. So aids were used for shaping wood, following canoes, okay, and smoothing the surfaces. Then this is sickle, which was used for the harvesting of crops, wheat and barley. Then these are the chisels and the pointed tools, okay. So these were mainly used for drilling purpose, okay. Then can you see over here, grinding tools. If you know, Indian cuisine is known for its masalas. And if you go to South India, if you go to North India, there are different ways in which masalas are made. And this is a traditional way of grinding, okay. In Maharashtra, okay, we usually use coconut, and even South Indians use coconut, right? So, coconut is being grinded on this cones, okay? So, these were used widely in this particular Neolithic age, okay? Then we had borers were there, okay, to make holes in the leather, in the wood, scrapers were there. So, these are the different types of tools which were found in the Neolithic period. Materials used, you can see at the end, quartz was used, chalcedony, chert, jasper, and basalt. Okay, and please remember the Neolithic tools are called as the grounded tools. Why? Because the grounding technique was used to make these tools. Okay, tools are stronger, more durable, more efficient. They are very much symmetrical in their proportions. Okay, and very well balanced, and this indeed shows what technological advancement. So that is a very important feature of this age. Okay, slowly and gradually as the ages progress, man depicted his ability to learn and advance. Okay, now, we are going to understand important sites in India, Neolithic sites in India, and they are very important from the preliminary perspective. If you look at the UPSC questions, they do ask sites, and in these years, in the recent 3 to 4 years, the questions from sites have increased. Okay, so let us try to understand the important sites, Neolithic sites. Okay, so the very first site is the Mehergarh. As I have mentioned, that Mehergarh is a very important site because here we find the earliest evidences of wheat and barley. Not only this, even the evidences of domestication of sheep, cattle, and goat. Okay, the bones have been discovered from this site. So this is located where? It's in Pakistan. Okay, the next important sites. Now, the site number 2 and site number 3 are the most important sites from Kashmir. Okay, so first we'll see the site number 2. This is Burza Home. Burza Home is a characteristic Neolithic site of Kashmir. Why it is called as a characteristic Neolithic site of Kashmir? Because here, because of the climatic conditions, people preferred living in pits. Can you see over here? Pit. So this is called as pit dwelling. People used to live in pit. Underground houses were constructed in order to escape the cold weather. So this can be a preliminary question. Which site is known for pit dwelling? So please remember, Burza Home is the site from Kashmir which is known for pit dwelling. Okay, and there is also a very interesting discovery from Burza Home. The discovery is of a graveyard where dog and the master, they were buried in the same grave. Okay, so there is a grave where dog and the master are together buried. Okay, so this hints towards the earliest human and animal relations. Okay, we all know that the relation between dogs and humans are very, if you domesticate, if you have a pet dog, then you develop into a very emotional relationship with that pet. Okay, so that is evident from this particular example. Okay, so please do remember this. Now, the next site is Gufkrul. Okay, Gufkrul is yet another characteristic site of Kashmir, and here also we find the evidences of pit dwelling. Okay, and Gufkrul, it literally means cave of the potter. The meaning of the Gufkrul is cave of the potter. Okay, so that you need to remember. Fine. Now, coming towards Koldiva, that is Uttar Pradesh. Okay, so Koldiva is the site where we find the earliest evidences of rice cultivation in India. So please remember this. Where do we find the earliest rice cultivation, evidences of rice cultivation in India? It's in Koldiva, where in Uttar Pradesh. Okay, and also here archaeologists have discovered a lot of microliths belonging to the Mesolithic era. Then the next important site, so Koldiva, it's from UP, and this is known for rice. Okay, then Chiran. Chiran is yet another important site. It's in Bihar. Now, this site is mainly known for the excavation of large number of bone tools. So large number of bone tools are discovered from Chirand. Okay, so harpoons are there, awls are there, and lot of bone tools, microliths have been discovered from Chirand. Okay, now coming to Karnataka. In Karnataka, we have number of sites. So first one is Maski, second is Brahmagiri, third is Halur, fourth is Kodekal, fifth is Sanganakallu, seventh is T. Narsipur, and the last is Kalukutta. So these are the sites from Karnataka, okay? And all these sites are known for the different remains from the Neolithic period. Like we have pottery over here, Neolithic pottery over here. We have ash mounds, okay? There are ash mounds over here. Then we even have the evidences of animal bones from these sites, okay? So these are the important sites. Please remember Maski, Brahmagiri, Halur, Kodekal, Sanganakallu, T. Narsipur, and Takkalkot, okay? Now, coming towards Andhra Pradesh, so the sites from Andhra Pradesh are Piklihal, a very important Neolithic site from Andhra Pradesh, and Uttanur. Okay, so there are two sites from Andhra Pradesh, Uttanur and Piklihal. Okay. Then from Tamil Nadu, we have a very important site, Payampalli. So remember Payampalli, it's a site from Tamil Nadu. And finally, from Assam, we have a site, Daujalo Hading. Okay, so Daujalo Hading is a characteristic Neolithic site of Assam. Okay, so where we find the earliest evidences of farming communities in Assam region. So these are the important sites from the Neolithic age. Try to revise them once or twice and you will be in a position to recollect them. Okay, so first one is Mehergarh, it's in Pakistan. Please remember earliest cultivation of wheat and barley and evidences of sheep, goat, and cattle domestication. Okay, Burzaum and Gufkrul, sorry, these are the two sites from Kashmir. Burzaum and Gufkrul are known for pit dwelling, and Burzaum is particularly known for the graveyard where we find the evidences of dog and humans being buried together in the same grave. Okay, Koldiva, earliest evidences of rice cultivation in the Indian subcontinent from Koldiva. Tiran, large number of bone tools. Sites in Karnataka, Maski, Brahmagiri, Halur, Kodekal, Sanganakallu, T. Narsipur, and Takkalkotta. From Andhra Pradesh, only two sites, okay? Piklihala and Uttanur. So what you can do, you remember the sites from Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu. And if in the examination you get any site, so you know, for example, if you get any site from Karnataka and you are not able to recollect, but you know the sites of Andhra Pradesh, only two are there. UP, Uttanur and Piklihal. From Tamil Nadu, only one site, Payampalli. So, apart from these three, whatever such South Indian names will come, these are the sites from Karnataka. Maski, Brahmagiri, Halur, Kodekal, Sanganakallu, T. Narsipur and Akkalkota. From Assam, a very unique name, Daujalo, Hading. Okay. So, remember these sites and these are indeed very important from the preliminary perspective. Okay. So, with this, we have completed all the stages of our prehistoric India. That is, we have completed Paleolithic age, we have completed Mesolithic age, and finally, today we covered a very important part of the prehistoric India, and that is Neolithic age. Okay, do prepare the mains question on Neolithic age as the age of revolution. Revise the sites, okay? And in the upcoming session, we are going to discuss MCQs related to the prehistoric India. Okay, so all the different MCQs, even the PYQs related to this topic, I'll be discussing in the upcoming session. Okay, stay tuned. Thank you so much. I hope you guys are enjoying the lecture series. Thank you.